Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor. I'm Susie.
And I'm Michael. We're excited you joined us for this adventure.
So today's very special guest is Andrew Schutsky. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, guys.
Yeah, and what's even more exciting is that we actually finally got to meet you in person at Best Ever Conference. And so it makes this so much better because it's like, hey, you're not just a face on the screen anymore. So we're excited you're here.
It's become really real when you meet people for the first time in person. It's a game changer, honestly.
Totally.
Absolutely. Yep. So speaking of game changers, would you mind sharing with our audience a little bit more about your background, Andrew, and like how and why you started investing in real estate?
Absolutely. So I've kind of been living, I wouldn't say a double life, but I've been investing in real estate since 2007. Started alongside my professional career, 20 years in information technology, currently a CIO for a medical device company. And like most other working professionals, I know that invest alongside us, they're tired of paying a lion's share of taxes, tired of wanting to work until you're the typical retirement of age of 62. Mm-hmm. And honestly, building the empire, when I started, quote unquote, empire, single family by single family and short-term rental by short-term rental, it's very slow, right? So that I knew there had to be a better way. Eventually found my way into multifamily in 2020 and a light bulb went on. I actually found this thread on Bigger Pockets. I love talking about this. It was like a 62-page thread. My wife and I are on vacation and she's like, you to read this whole thing? Because I was on there for hours just plowing through it. And that was when it started for me. Got myself a mentor, joined a few mastermind groups, read 30 plus books to kick things off. You could say I was obsessed, and I think I still am. I'm not afraid to admit that. But honestly, from there, it kind of took off and working on closing our third property currently.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats.
That is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, my favorite part though is that because I get the feeling like once you find that thread, or even because like at that point it kind of feels like a book. It's like when you want to consume it all, it's please, 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 more.
I'm the type of person that needs to be like oversaturated with information to get comfortable and build confidence. And most people are probably sick of reading the fifth or sixth book. I just kind of like to just pick up, maybe you're only getting 5 or 10% from each new podcast or each book, but to me, that's worth it, right? And I enjoy it. So it's not like it's work.
Yeah, absolutely. And with those, you started off as like single family and short-term rentals and things like that. Do you still have those, or you're like shedding those as you progress? Or
yeah, you know what? I'd like to think that I'm not going to be ever 100% in any one class because, as you guys know, it's very, very difficult to find deals and to kind of fill time between deals. I still enjoy the short-term rental side of things. It's actually, it's a very different experience. You're dealing with typically very happy people who are on vacation, so that's kind of fun. And it's a way to build wealth with friends and family. You don't have to worry about syndication and stuff like that. So it's a nice vehicle, but I'd say 90% of my efforts will be in multifamily. But I still do enjoy from time to time a nice project on the side.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you manage those like short-term rentals yourself, like through?
I do, yeah. And it's to the point where maybe if I get over 10 units or something, I won't. But I read a book a while back and it's like why you should manage, your short-term rentals your own. This lady had, 100 of them. And she was very adamant made very good points about why you should manage your own. And it's not just about the work, because honestly, it's once you have a template in place, it's not that bad, but it's about, controlling who goes in there and who doesn't. You can screen people. And it's really, like I said, once you get the templates in place, it's not that bad. If I had 100 of them and I was still doing multifamily and a full-time job, it'd be a different story. But until that day comes, and I'll be fortunate if that day comes, I'll do it myself. I like it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And with these properties that you have for the multifamily, I know you say you're a CIO as well right now. Are you the lead syndicator on these properties as well? Or are you coming?
No, I joined a team and I have been making offers of my own with brokers and other partners as a lead syndicator. But to this point, it's funny. I started out kind of trying to cover every role. And that was probably my biggest lessons learned is, especially working a full-time job, but looking back, how it seems crazy to me now, but it wasn't obvious at the time. Trying to find properties and write offers and do asset management and raise money. It just sets yourself up for disappointment, honestly.
Yeah.
So I've kind of honed in on the investor relations side of things, and I'm still listening for deals as they come because the brokers will still approach us, but I'm not actively trying to spend 10 hours a week looking for properties. I'd rather focus my time where it makes the most sense.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Multifamily or just commercial real estate in general is just like such a team sport. And
it is,
which you found out very quickly, right? Because there's so many moving parts, and especially when there's so much at stake as well, you need other people to kind of lean on and rely on and trust, right? So,
absolutely. And I think that's one of the things I enjoy most. I enjoy working in team environments, whether it's in my W-2 job or in real estate. And I really like winning together. It feels great. It's fun. You get to help your partners as well as your investors, as well as the residents. That's really great.
Yeah, absolutely.
What gets you the most excited about it all?
Honestly, I think just the art of the deal and finding a new property, finding a new deal and hunting for that needle in a haystack. Back in the day, I used to go to yard sales with my dad and look for treasures. And
I like that.
and even I'm a big automotive enthusiast, hence the Redline Equity name. It's a lot to do with the automotive side of me. And I always loved hunting for cars, buying cars, finding bargains, finding that value, that vehicle that was out there that you can maybe enjoy for a while, sell for a profit, do some work to it. And I've always been the bargain hunter mindset or the value mindset. So I really enjoy the hunting. It's ironic because I'm not focused on that right now, but I'm sure I'll come back to it.
Absolutely. No reason. I was going to say, so you mentioned at the very beginning when we were talking about your intro, a little bit about your background, you mentioned the whole thing about retiring at 65, and that's like the status quo for the United States, whatever. I'm sure now, like you're focusing on the investor relations side of things as well for raising money for these syndications. Like I'm sure you share that story with your investors too, right? Like, hey, there's a way you don't have to work until you're 65, and then you can't really enjoy your retirement because you can't move as well, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah. Like what is that the story? I'm assuming that is, but elaborate more on that.
100%. Number one, I think being a successful capital raiser and being in business in general, success requires genuineness, right? So if you're genuine, you're thinking about most people in my shoes working 20 plus years, even 10 years, they know it wouldn't be ideal to do this for another 20 or 30. So it's very relatable. It's genuine, right? This is a great way to build, albeit slowly. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a get rich in 1, 2, 3, or 5 years for most people. But most people relate to, hey, it's a grind. And if you enjoy your W-2, which I very much do, and you know that you probably don't want to do it for be chained to the desk for 20, 30 years, and you got to do something differently. If you do nothing, it's pretty much guaranteed you're going to be working until you're 60 plus. So that's a story that's relatable. It's genuine. And like I said, most people, almost everybody I know, it gets their attention for good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just creates such a great impact on their lives, right? When people can go and enjoy retirement a lot earlier. Like I know several of my family members, they've worked until their 70s. Like,
right, my mom turned 70 on Sunday.
Yeah, still working. Yeah,
happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, it's just really unfortunate. So I'm glad that people like you are out there spreading the word, hey, there is an alternate way, because the American education system, let's be real, doesn't teach you that at all, right?
No.
I mean, I think good reason, right? The American government doesn't want to teach you that because they want you to stay in the workforce, right?
Yeah.
Until you're 65. So
keep funding that Social Security and keep funding those programs or 401ks, get it taxed to the max, right? I mean, there's incentives for sure for the government and for the average, American to keep working. So yeah, totally relatable.
Yeah.
So although people it's very appealing to people, right? Because like even Michael and I have those conversations. Why do you think so many people are still hesitant?
Fear of the unknown, right? I mean, I just had a conversation with a longtime buddy of mine over the phone for maybe a couple of hours. And he was like, hey, I've been looking at these properties. I'm trying to buy a duplex here and there, or maybe some properties down the shore here in the Philadelphia, New Jersey area. I've seen these posts you're putting out there. Does that really work? It requires some education. And even I was skeptical when I first got in, and you see these posts in Bigger Pockets. Hey, I'm closing these big properties, and hey, I no money down, and all these what you think seemingly high barriers to entry are kind of vanished. You're like, it leaves you skeptical. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the reason I kept educating myself. I was like, okay, is this some kind of scheme or something? So you read a couple books, you're like, all right, maybe this guy got lucky.
Yeah.
Read a few more books. So you start to see a theme, right? Dozens of podcasts, new people out there, and you think, why not me? Right. So that's why I tell people that are interested in this, like they're starting to dabble, just feed them a little bit of information at a time, letting get comfortable with it. Continue to educate yourself on a regular basis. And eventually, once you get comfortable, you realize, oh my God, this is real. This is a real path for success. This is a real way to build passive income. This is a real way to build a career if you're passionate about it, like the three of us are. Mm-hmm. This is for real. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because like we still have friends and family who are just like, hey, like your business thing is cool. I'm like, my business thing is cool.
Yeah. This is my life, right? This is my life. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, oh, cool, sweet side gig. Like, cool. It actually pays more.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. I mean, it almost seems too good to be true in the beginning. Then you realize when you start doing it on the active side, like the three of us are, holy crap, this is a lot of work too, right? There's a lot of vetting to get a deal from the initial, and there's maybe hundreds of offers before you strike the next property. To get that to close is I underestimated how much work that was. So I totally understand why the financials look the way they do for the operators. It's a tremendous amount of work. It's more risk for the operators than anybody else with earnest money going down with inspections. And you guys are nodding. You've been there and
Yeah.
I totally get it. So that was one thing I underestimated is how much work it is. That's why I mentioned about dialing into a role and using a team, especially if you're working a job like I am. So, yeah.
So although I guess, how do I want to word this? It is uncomfortable, even though I don't know why, right? Because so many people like invest in their primary residence, whether they want to think of it that way or not. But like, even with their jobs, so many people don't think that there's like a 50-50 chance. That's what they have to be able to stay, right? 50% of it is their choice. And the other 50% of it is like their employer's choice, whether they have a job the next day. And that to me seems really risky, right?
That's a great point. And that's something I was talking to a family member about the other day, saying, they're like, well, you've worked so hard, such a great career. Why not take advantage of that and just ride it out for 20 years, play the safe path, collect income, collect your stock options, collect your bonuses. That's all great. But like you just mentioned, there's things outside of your control. You can be the best employee out there. You can be the most engaging, sell the most product, have the best customer service levels. But ultimately, there's a lot of things outside of your control: market conditions, economic conditions, company's performance, company senior leadership, their decisions. You may have an influence in that at best. But in a company like I work with 80,000 people, I mean, you're kidding yourself. You think you have complete control over that business. You don't. No one does. Not even the CEO, right? They still have a board to report to. They still have shareholders to deal with. A lot, angel investors on the side potentially. So there's a lot. As much as you like your job, it's never completely inside your control. That's a fact of life, right? So it talks about risk. There's always an element of risk there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you just look at Steve Jobs. I mean, he was completely removed from Apple. It's like, and he created Apple.
Correct.
It's like now he was safe in his own company.
Yeah.
So there's risk everywhere.
Yeah. And I know some people might be like, oh, I'm not crazy like Steve Jobs. Like that will never happen to me. But even me, right? Like at one of my jobs back in Colorado, right before we moved here, I had recently been given way more responsibility. They're like, here's the key, here's the code, come and go whenever you want. And I think it was like a whole month later, they were just like, I don't think it's a good fit. I was like, I'm so confused. I've been here for a year and a half. You just gave me more responsibility and now it's not a good fit. Like, I need to understand why. Can you just help me understand why? And they just repeated it. I'm like,
it's just politics.
That doesn't mean anything to me. What can I even do better going forward? You're distracted. I was like, oh, I get it.
and sometimes it comes down to just personality clashes, right? You could be a great employee, and it's so frustrating to see people out there that are really great at their job, and they're in a management structure or reporting path that's just they don't get along, and there's very little you can do about it. You can go find a different role, or you can leave the company, which is a lot of work to start over. So your options may be limited, and for usually not a great reason.
Right? Yeah, because you can even actually get along with them really well, and the same thing can happen.
Correct.
That's even the crazy part about it all, but still it all just goes back to, oh, my job is safe. I'm like, I'm so confused by this word.
All else considered, why not? Why not you? Why not me? Start to build something that could become something much, much bigger with one piece, one brick at a time. So why not take action to de-risk your personal situation for yourself, for your family, for your kids, maybe for your legacy, right? How big of an impact do you want to leave for not only for yourself, but think 1 or 2 generations down. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to look out for number one, right? Number one, you have the best interest in yourself, right? Like nobody else does, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
But then you even make decisions differently, right? Like instead of being reactive about everything, like you're much more proactive, or it's like not a fear-based decision anymore, right? So like for somebody, like even the people who were asked to retire earlier than they thought they were going to retire, like if they have that passive income, what they're doing going forward is completely different, than if they don't. Because if they're like, oh my gosh, I expected to work for 5 more years, who's going to hire a 63-year-old? Like, what happens now? Or even the 25-year-old who was like, wait a second, I just moved into this Class A luxury apartment. What do I do now? Granted, a 25-year-old starting off, I could still have a little bit of passive income, but it makes a difference when you start to think about it. I mean, I could do 40, right? Oh, I have a family and kids. What do I do now? There's so many that like, why wouldn't you even just want like this much of it extra protection?
I mean, life's all about having choices, right? And I think the choices we make, ideally in your 20s and 30s, but maybe you get started later, it gives you much more options, much better options and flexibility later in life. And I think we all make better decisions. We don't feel like we're back into a corner, right? So if you start investing in your 30s and 40s, maybe you continue the W-2, you're investing passively for a decade, you build a pretty sizable nest egg by that point. So your options are, hey, I don't have to say yes to this. I don't have to take that role that I don't want to. Maybe I can completely go off and be a charter of a fishing boat for a while and then my passion.
Yeah.
It just, like I said, having the right option, making the right decisions and giving yourself options later on just opens up so many doors that you won't have unless you take action.
Absolutely.
But that's the scary part.
Yeah, it is. It's very scary. And we were chatting with some friends of ours the other day, and it's very odd that we are like, are you not worried about losing your job? Right. I know we're kind of stuck on this theme right now, but let's just finish off with this. Are you not worried about we're losing your job? And you're like, no, I never really thought about it. Like, why would I think about that losing your job? I'm like, and they're younger, right? Like, and it's just mind blowing. And I was like, did you not just see what happened over the last year? Like when COVID took over everything and so many people lost their jobs. Oh yeah, but that won't happen to me. Okay. This ignorance as well. Which is really unfortunate.
There's like we mentioned a few times, right? There's a lot of things that are outside your control. Focus on what you can control. And I always tell people in my team at work, I mean, be a good person, do great work, get noticed, promote yourself as you should, because no one's a better promoter than you are for yourself, and invest in yourself, right? Those things are really keys to success that I've seen. I try to emphasize with my team and my investors as well.
What legacy do you try to leave at work and in your family, like with real estate?
So, great question. I think the example, I'll start with my kids, right? I think that's the most powerful message I can make. I always like to say, live the life that you want your kids to become. So set a great example for them. Show that every morning my son sees me reading on the couch. I think that's a great example, right? My son will see me on calls at night and he's wondering like, why? You already worked the whole day. Why are you on? Like we did a webinar last night on a deal and he's like, why are you on there? So I'll talk him through it. He's only 8, right? So he's like, well, so he's a big Monopoly player. So, hey, we're trying brick by brick, trying to buy one property at a time, trying to leave you guys a legacy. And I'm trying to teach him the importance of why I'm doing that, the importance of hard work and just be a great person, right? Help each other out. They'll see me taking calls from random friends, just answering questions. Maybe they're just buying their first duplex or single family. And they'll see me on the phone and I'm like, Dad, why are you spending so much time with those guys? It's a number one. I think above everything else is it's important to help other people above yourself, put them first, and everything else will fall. Everything else will come. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the example I like to set, right? Do hard work, help other people, think big, leave an impact, work hard. Simple.
I love that. And I saw this quote the other day or a meme, whatever we're going to call it, about Monopoly, since we're talking about Monopoly. It's like, how would you like to live your life going around Monopoly on the board, around and around and passing go and collecting $200? Yeah. That's what everybody in the workforce is doing, right?
Yep.
Never buying any property, but every time landing on property, always paying people, for that. Right?
I think you guys said that on LinkedIn. I saw that. I love that. And it resonates with me. I was a big Monopoly guy when I was younger too. And my son's obsessed. So it really relates. I love that.
Nice. Have you gotten cash flow for kids for him?
No, but I think it's about time. Even my daughter, and maybe that might become the new bedtime. So we need to move away from Dr. Seuss and more cash flow for kids. So I think that's the next step. So thanks for the reminder.
No, that's cute. Yeah, like my nephew likes Monopoly, but then he likes the Game of Life. And like the Game of Life, like when I initially played it with him, I totally forgot what it was like, right? But even like the artist made $125,000.
I know.
I was like, whoa. Why are we playing the Game of Life? I don't like this anymore.
It's funny. My wife called that exact thing out. She's, hey, this game's fine, but it's very unrealistic. 9 times out of 10, you draw the life card. It's, oh, you inherited $250,000. And hey, you had 4 babies, but you just inherited another 500,000. And it's like, this isn't really the way life works. And actually, we play the version, we have one that's 30 or 40 years old. It's much more balanced. So they changed it over the years. Number one, it's all and it's crap. And the cards are like 90% cash flow. Hey, here you get all this money, you get these properties, and very unrealistic. So I don't think that's the best example to your point.
Yeah, it's just wild though, because it's like the games because that one's even easy to play, right?
Yeah.
It's like You turn it, you flip a card, you collect
Yeah.
money. And like when you're constantly collecting money as a child or as in any game, like they're like, oh my gosh, this is engaging. I want to keep playing. It's like, no, defeats the purpose. Stop. Like,
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Do you have any other things that you do with your children or your kids? Like as far as you say, you want to set the best example, you're reading and then showing them the webinar and stuff like that. Is there anything else that you do to, shape their minds to think about more passive income versus like active income and things like that?
Yeah, really, really basic example. My son and my daughter both have piggy banks, and as soon as they get money for their birthdays, they'll shove it in there, and then we'll do the online deposit thing. We'll show them their accounts and stuff like that. And then I recently teaching, which my wife thinks is ridiculous, my son the concept of inflation, especially right now, everything's going crazy. And I think he has like $300 in his piggy bank, which for an 8-year-old is not bad, right? I'm like, so here's the deal. Like, you can leave this in here. And he's like, I'm safe. I'm guarding it. I tuck it in every night. And like, nobody disrupts it. But I'm like, look, here's the deal. Like, I just make up a date. Like as of December, there's actually that money is going to lose value. So your $300 might be worth 290 or 280. And he's like, well, what do you mean? Like, no one's going to steal it, right? Like actually, so I'm teaching him the concept of, hey, let's invest this and maybe in an index fund for now, right? You can't buy properties at $300, but hey, you invest this, it will grow instead of shrink over time. So just simple concepts of, hey, this money will artificially vanish if we don't put it somewhere. And you're getting dividends from that, and starting with the basics. And I think that's pretty cool. And he's like just starting to kind of click to my wife. You're ridiculous. He's 8. Like he's never going to understand this, but he is starting to get it. So I think it might just take some repetition, but I think just simple like piggy bank type, I wouldn't say tricks, but just lessons are really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a great concept, and you might not think that he's getting a lot of info from it, but I mean, sure he is. I mean, like children's minds are so impressionable at this age, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
They just get more and more curious. They're like, why?
I know there's a lot of questions, and I'm more than happy to answer them. That's the part. Once you get them engaged, it's actually a lot more fun than trying to just force feed information.
Totally.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, Andrew, it's been such a pleasure chatting about how to avoid late retirement, ways to take control of your life, look out for number one, and also some tips and lessons for your children to help them learn more about passive investing or passive income streams as well. But before we end the show, we move on to the Adventurous 4. These are 4 exploratory questions we ask all of our guests, Andrew. And the first question we have for you is, where is one place you wish to travel to and why?
So I've been fortunate to travel the world quite a bit for my job and for fun. My wife and I, especially pre-kids, got around a lot. One place we have not been to, we'd love to go, it's on our bucket list, is Australia. I mean, we're big coastal people, beach people. And I guess maybe the why is it seems unattainable right now with 2 kids, and getting away for a long weekend is tough enough, but that requires probably 2 weeks of devoted time. So, hey, maybe a good reason to accelerate more passive income, buy myself, maybe much earlier retirement than I expect, and get out there, right? So it's a good carrot on a stick for me right now.
Totally. I love that.
Yeah.
The second question is, what is one thing on your bucket list besides Australia? And how are you leveraging real estate investing to achieve it?
Absolutely. So for me, I mean, the number one thing on my bucket list before starting this business was start a successful business. It actually didn't have to be around real estate. I just wanted something I could shape and make my own. I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So honestly, starting a successful business and running that as my full-time job at some point is the number one thing, and remains the number one thing. There's other things like learn another language and travel different continents, et cetera. But number one is still to take control of my own destiny with my own business.
I like that. That's a really good one.
Yeah. And it's genuine, right? That's one thing I've always wanted. And it's slowly building, right? It's not an overnight thing. It's not a 1 or 2 year thing. It's probably 5-10 years out, but that's all good.
I love it.
That's great.
Cool.
The third question, Andrew, is what is one piece of advice you have for someone who wants to start passively investing in real estate?
I would say you owe it to yourself to at least educate yourself of the possibilities, right? I know it's always risky. It always seems daunting. It always seems, hey, I had this cash. I want to invest it in a new kitchen, a new bathroom, a new car. At least educate yourself and go from there, right? See if you have interest. Not everybody will, and that's perfectly fine. Not everybody will have the means right away, but plant the seed, educate yourself, explore the possibilities, and the rest will come, I'm sure.
Right? Yeah, because then you can actually decide no if you want to instead of no when you don't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not going to be a fit for everybody, and that's perfectly fine, but at least you owe it to yourself to explore the art of the possible.
I like that. Cool. And then the fourth question is, if you had unlimited resources available to you, how would you leave an impact?
That's an awesome one. And one thing I really enjoy especially like new guys or gals getting into business is helping them get on their feet and helping them start. I actually just helped a buddy start an audio video company and talking through kind of as a consultant. I'd love to be like an angel investor, right? Just have the ability to just help team after team, person after person, get off their feet, get started and launch their business or their career. I really enjoy that part.
That's really cool.
That is really cool because then like you are helping somebody else achieve that dream.
Yeah.
Yes.
The dream that you had as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. And it's, helping them launch that, be a part of it and seeing them blossom. It's kind of like it's you in 10 different directions taking off, which is really cool. That's far I love. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Absolutely.
pollinating.
Right. That's it. That's it.
I love it. Yeah. Andrew, would you mind sharing with our adventurous family how they can reach out to you or find out more about you?
Absolutely. So best way is our website. Everything funnels through there, podcasts, everything. And so it's investwithredline.com. We've got a free learning series in there. If you're new to investing, you want to learn more, it's a great step-by-step primer to the benefits, the risks, how to get started, what to expect, how does a deal look, who are the partners. It takes you through everything, soup to nuts. A goal setting guide is a part of that. Check out our website, investwithredline.com. Subscribe, join us, absolutely free, no obligation at all whatsoever. Check it out, educate yourself, and go from there.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, Andrew, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. It was a lot of fun. And we hope to have you back on soon. I want to know just even the progression with your son. Like, I need to know about this piggy.
Yes. It's been a lot of fun, guys. Really, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, Andrew. It's such a pleasure. So until next time, explore more, adventure awaits.